The concave muzzles of Persian cats stared back at him. All that was required of Ethan. He had to call the cattery. A simple task, but Ethan hesitated. It was hard for him to get used to the idea of one of these pop-eyed creatures walking around their apartment. During the day, it will nap where it pleases, and at night, sneak into the kitchen and play with the shadows that move by themselves. And its eyes will turn into two saucers of black and gray nacre, if the light reaches them. Ancient people believed cats would walk between worlds and see spirits. Looking at Persians, Ethan hardly believed they could even breathe on their own.
Oh, yeah.
And yet, in this, Ethan Harrison from the 21st century agreed with the ancient people. There was something sinister about them. In any case, he should call the cattery, for Hope's sake, for the sake of both of them, since he had to make the decision. Ethan had already picked up the phone and was about to proceed with the plan when he heard the key turn in the entrance door. Something about that wound him up. It was barely 5 o'clock in the evening, which was, in a way, very early for Hope to be back. If everything was fine, that is. Ethan closed his laptop and went out into the hallway. For a long time, he couldn't say a single word. And when he could speak again, he only managed one question. What have you done? Hope's smile faded, and for the first time in 4.5 or even 5 years they'd been a couple, Ethan was glad of it. In fact, there was nothing surprising about it. As with the new haircut and the new hair color, Hope looked unbearably, insanely similar to the creature at the window. Hope's lip turned white, trembling.
This didn't help, did it? Any of it? Can't love me even now, right?
What are you talking about?
Isn't it obvious? I see how you look at me. You're disgusted. You try your best to touch me as little as possible. And no matter what I do, no matter what I try, it doesn't help. Like, you don't even try to sneak up a touch. Admit it, you never loved her. You didn't, right, Ethan? She was convenient, and that was about it. She makes the flowers grow. Your flowers grew too much, didn't they, Ethan? Didn't they?
Ethan would never hit his wife. More than that, he would never hit a woman, but what spoke to him was neither his wife nor a woman. It was the nightmare incarnate that bared his long, sharp teeth and came to take away his right for a second chance. Or so Ethan thought at the time. The punch turned out somewhat pathetic. But you have to take into account that wife beating is not a fairground attraction. When you hit your wife properly, a mark does not fly up to the highlighted sign. A good one. Although this is only indirectly related to the early Renaissance, Ethan had expertise in this matter, since his old man's fists used to itch often. If there was something like that, he would know. However, if any sign could light up at the moment, it would say something like, "You're scum, Ethan." No! He kept repeating that even after Hope stormed out of the door in tears.
Hey, honey, do you like my hair? Bam!
Yeah, what the shit?
I know!
This is like too long fu, thanks for everything. Did you put spices in the chili? Ethan barely remembered the following few days. Something seemed to be happening. Some people called him. He himself called a lot. He called Hope. Hope wasn't answering the phone. He knew this would happen. Every time he dialed her number, he knew he'd end up listening to the voicemail signal. It became something of a ritual. He would wake up. Sometimes it was light outside, sometimes dark, but more often it was something gray. He neither could nor would want to identify because of the drawn curtains. He'd call Hope. Hope wouldn't answer the phone. Yeah, we went from banging cats to hitting our wife? What the hell? He would go to the kitchen and turn the water. She's always been nice so far.
Exactly.
He'd watch the silvery, twisted stream break against the sink for a while. Eventually, he'd put a cup under the stream, fill it to the brim, drink. Go to the bathroom. Back to the couch. It's too bad to be true. All of this can't be real. Life can't crumble into pieces in an instant. Just collapse inwards like a wooden block tower. Ethan couldn't remember the name of that game. Once he and Hope went to see... He and Hope! It's too bad. All this can't be real. He didn't do anything. Could it be that he didn't do anything? No. He hit Hope. He hit her, and a red blot spread across her cheek. It was too dark to see, but Ethan knew how it goes. How could he do that? What happens now? What could happen now? The thoughts were like a bunch of needles as he tried to swallow over and over. Sometimes he managed to briefly forget about them. What happened when he woke up in the gray timelessness, looked at the dirty white ceiling and didn't remember who that Ethan Harrison was, but the pain would always come back. He had a bunch of needles in his throat, and no matter how much water he drank, he couldn't get rid of it. Hope's father shook him up a bit. Since he could have done it. Grabbing a hold of him, lifting him off the ground. Hope's father was a tough man. Despite his age, he could have hit Ethan hard. Ethan was afraid of it, and at the same time, he wanted it to happen. That would have made everything easier, maybe even fixed it all. Ethan was going over it in his head as he stared at the phone screen displaying a familiar number. He was awfully scared, yet he answered. It turned out Hope had asked her father to pack up for her. Mr. Murley's voice was flat, maybe even a bit uncertain, and worst of all, he wasn't angry. This plunged Ethan into despair. He couldn't get his redemption like this. However, the upcoming visit forced Ethan to gain his senses. It shoved him back into reality, like a stream of people pushing one into a crowded subway train. He tidied up the place a bit. He shaved. He figured out what to say. Several times he rehearsed his speech in front of the mirror. And just before Mr. Murley's arrived, Ethan left the keys with the neighbors. Simply put, he fled. Of course, he warned Mr. Murley's beforehand with a message, because he didn't have the heart to call. Ethan wanted Mr. Murley's to pick up what he had to, and get out as soon as possible. Mr. Murley's wasn't going to help, that's for sure. He wasn't going to help, which meant he simply got between Ethan and his wife. Ethan was angry with Mr. Murley's, but he was the source of all the trouble. Anger was boiling up inside of him, mixing with cheap coffee and turning it into caustic acid. There was nothing rational about this feeling. Ethan had plenty of time to think about it, to weigh it, to examine it under a magnifying glass. He was sitting in a small cafe on the corner of the street until the streets got dark. He would have stayed there even longer if a waiter hadn't come to his table to tell him the place was closing. Ethan nodded absently and asked for a moment to use the bathroom. Again, there was nothing rational about being angry at Mr. Murley's, and to be honest, it was pathetic. Just like hitting your wife and then running away to not face her father. You're scum, Ethan. Worthless scum. Ethan turned off the tap and stared at his reflection in a large mirror. A few drops of water trembled on the tip of his nose and chin. Now that was a proper punch. Sir, I'm sorry, but sir? Are you okay? You have... Blood oozed from his split lip. Ethan wiped it with the back of his hand. Yes, I'm fine. Sorry, I didn't mean to keep you. He smiled. The fresh wound got swollen with blood again. A red blot spread across his face just as it should. Ethan didn't lie to the waiter. He really was fine. Maybe not in the same manner as before, but the gears in his head were starting to move again. When he got home, Mr. Murley has already left. Turned out he didn't even take the keys from the neighbors. At first, Ethan assumed Mr. Murley's could cancel the visit, but as soon as he opened the door, his doubts disappeared. A strong, unfamiliar scent was filling the hallway. It could be Mr. Murley's cologne, or maybe the smell of the apartment itself, with Hope's presence faded away. Mr. Murley's must have taken his daughter's keys. Somehow the possibility never even crossed Ethan's mind. He drew the air in through his nostrils and suddenly felt as sharp and clear as the dream he had days ago. Something was going to happen. Ethan looked around the empty, dark room and reached for the phone. Was it to perform the ritual, or was he hoping something would go different this time? Short beeps. Sir, this is a Wendy's? Ethan thought it was safe to say something was already happening. He only had to figure what and where. Something had changed in the picture, and it's not that Hope's favorite blouse is missing from the closet. If you find the difference, you win. If you find the difference, you'll know where the gears are taking you. The hallway. I don't know why they keep spelling it that way. Pot-bellied bowls on the dresser, full of gibberish and dust. The kitchen. An even row of glass jars on a shelf, an empty coffee maker bearing a dry blackness at the bottom, spoons, forks, knives, some of them really sharp. The bathroom. A mirror on the wall, and the reflection of the closed door is open. No, it's not here. What about... Ethan licked his split lip. Yeah, that's it. He has to check his email now.
Oh, something strange.
Ethan was looking carefully. It seemed like a lot of time had passed. His mailbox was full of various emails, but Ethan barely glanced at the names. He was looking for something special. And what was special about, say, letters from agency that were gradually becoming more and more concerned? At that point, concern turned into cold and aggressive. Oh, something... my fault. I get that now.
Thank you. Tomato soup channel now. The Secret of Anatomy. Exhibit 1. Exhibit 2.
They're all tomatoes.
Exhibit 4. A ripe specimen. It's all tomatoes. The screaming man is hiding here. Ductus nasocremalis. Happy lamb. Mary is a lamb. Johnny is a tree. And who's a little liar?
Oh. Looks like a marshmallow to me. Oh. Okay.
January 11th. New school is okay. I wish I could make friends with someone, though. Mom is working late again. It's fine. I left it a very heavy box when we moved in. Mom couldn't pick it up herself. I'm a big boy now, and big boys aren't afraid of anything. I'll just turn on the lights and watch TV with Timo and my friends. Only the cool stuff of animals and robots, or aliens, but not the creepy kind. May 3. Mom is acting funny, and smells funny too. Says she loves me all the time, but I'm a little bit blank when she's like that.
Ethan idly skimmed through the notice of contract termination. Not what he was looking for. He started with the oldest emails and scanned the list all the way to the top. Nothing. Maybe he wasn't looking in the wrong place. Maybe there's just nothing to look for. No, something is happening. He only has to figure what and where. Ethan got so close to the accurate answer to those questions that the light of new knowledge could have burned out his eyes. At the top of the list was an untitled letter. Maybe Ethan missed it the first time, or maybe it just wasn't there before. The sender was the same writer Ethan had volunteered to help, completely free of charge. Ethan's lungs turned into a deflated pool ball. He clicked the name of the letter without a name. Of course the letter actually had a name. Mail clients carefully added untitled to the empty line. You got a Tizona. Oh, awesome, congratulations. Just in case you're looking at Final Fantasy 11 item.
Oh, okay.
Just in case you're losing, I think, is the Tizona the blue sword? I'm trying to think, I don't do blue mage at all. Just in case you're losing it when you're blue myth, okay. God, I don't even have the class unlocked. I've definitely played that game too much, you know, if you know random items. Because something got out of that open door in the bathroom mirror. Congratulations, though. Mythics are like, they take multiple, I would say multiple months if you're farming them by yourself. The poor guy begged Ethan to come. Mel said he couldn't sleep. He was scared, exhausted, and didn't know who else to ask. Something will get him very soon, if he won't figure anything out. He didn't know if it was related to the work he was doing. He didn't know how to drive away what had settled in his house. He only knew something enormously hungry was looking at him from the darkness. You know what I mean, right? Ethan knew. By the time he finished reading the letter, Ethan already knew what he should do. Don't interfere or answer the call.
Don't interfere. Oh, thank you. Just in case.
Sweat broke out on his upper lip. Ethan closed his eyes. No. Ethan said it with a firm clarity. All of the following words that came out of his mouth were more and more quiet until his lips moved silently. No, I'm sorry. I can't help. I'm so sorry. He really was sorry. Sorry about his former life. Sorry for himself, desperately to the point his stomach clenched with a painful spasm. Sorry for Hope. Sorry for the poor writer who was being dragged deep into a cold vortex of darkness. But what could he, Ethan, do against that darkness? He failed. Maybe he had the skill to get the answers required, but they were buried too deep. At that depth, the water turned pitch black. And there were things in that darkness, in that blackness, Ethan didn't know the names of, didn't want to know. He took a deep breath as if he was actually about to dive, then deleted the email. Immortal through his work. The letter with the title Untitled disappeared into the dark vortex. The frantic, terrified pleas for help were erased, leaving no trace, as if they never existed. You picked the coward end, Em? No, it's not like that. Hope once told him it was a bad time for Ethan to recall this. The information on the internet doesn't really disappear after you click delete. Most often, it remains somewhere on the servers and you just lose access to it. You turn the mirror to the wall and pretend like it's your fancy. There was nothing wrong with the reflection. In that case, the sound scream didn't vanish, it was now trapped. Trapped or no one could hear it. I'm so sorry. Ethan covered his face with his hands. The mirror on the wall of Ethan's dark bathroom was reflecting a closed door. I really thought there were going to be more women parts, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. If
Ethan and Hope got
would you like me to continue?
Hmm?
Would you like me to continue?
Yeah, go for it if you want.
Ethan and Hope got an official divorce 3 months later. She took the house and she took kids and the whore cat.
Whatever, we get to keep the cat.
They never talked about everything that happened. But what did actually happen? Over time, the horrors you experience get erased from memory, fade, weaken. Such are the defense mechanisms of the human psyche. Dad loves you and never stood silently at the head of your bed, clutching a pillow in his some reason. When you were 8, Uncle Jeremy didn't take you behind a barn, didn't show you anything, or make you show anything. What? The grandmother's old wig does not and never has had any long spider legs. Ethan's psyche had notably suffered, but it was playing by the rules still. He wanted a simple, coherent explanation, and he knew where to get him. Dr. Lorraine Stein was an island of clarity and sanity, and the horrors, as Ethan has discovered, faded from memory much better if you break them down into phallic symbols.
Who's drawing dicks? Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Laura. Ethan wished he'd started therapy sooner. Who knows, maybe most of that nightmare could have been avoided. Police never figured out what happened, but even the clumsy version suited Ethan much better than what he remembered. What he allegedly remembered. Week after week, Ethan felt like he was gradually recovering. Of course, he had to give up his career as an independent consultant in favor of a more predictable office job, but at least he had the money for proper therapy. At some point, a small incident happened. Dr. Stein introduced an electronic registration. As it goes with electronic registration system, something went wrong on the second or third week. It turned out that 3 people had appointments at the same time slot. Mr. Quinn, Mr. Harrison, and Mrs. Merle. The meeting felt awkward at first, but the tension faded surprisingly quick. By mutual agreement, Mr. Quinn was the first to go to Dr. Giant's office. Ethan and Hope were left alone on the couch. They were both smiling, a little tense but overall happy. Since they met like that, they decided to go out for coffee and talk about various things, because they hadn't spoken in a long time. Then, at some point, they decided to hold hands. Lewd.
I know.
The next day, they were hardly keeping their eyes open because they only managed to sleep for a total of 3 hours. And that was inevitable. As a relationship, you always had to sacrifice something.
誰だったの?
Who was that?
Hope leaned over the arm of the sofa and looked at Ethan curiously. He shrugged. A literary agency, one of the few I haven't disgraced myself in front of yet. They're looking for enough of a boring guy to be their historical consultant. The working schedule is something about a whole day and most of the night, 7 days a week.
なんて言ったの?
So what did you say?
I'm a happily employed office worker and heartily enjoy cooler water.
本当に?
Are you serious?
嘘でしょ? いいじゃん.
Ethan, don't be silly.
転職だって分かってるじゃ
You
ない.
don't know that this is your true calling.
Don't you tell me what my true calling is.
仕事がすごく時間かかる
I
って
understand this
分
kind
か
of
って
work
いるけ
takes a
ど
lot of time, but you could quit the
今の
office
仕
job
事を
and...
辞めてそしたら
I could, but I don't want to. It's my turn to bring the mammoth to the cave. What about your calling? I know well enough how hard you work to make this startup of yours survive. Who will make a homeless cat Tinder if not you?
Oh. Well, actually, there's quite a variety of animals in our
私たち
database.
のデー
You'll
タ
be
ベースには
surprised.
最近
Ken, I
小
would
口
happily
が
have a
いっぱいあった
homeless
のよ
pet shelter Tinder. Recently, someone booked a mini pig.
That'd be cute.
Oh.
A mini pig? Like an actual pig,
What?
but portable?
そう
Yeah.
Your hope.
Well, kind of.
小さいって600
The mini
ポン
part
ドじゃ
says
な
for
く
just 100
ポンド
pounds
だけ
instead of good old 600.
人々は可愛い小豚
People
の写
get
真が
crazy
大
over
好き
cute
だ
pig
よ
photos of pig. This is it.
もう実
But
際
in reality,
ちょっと
wait a minute.
話題を変えないで
Don't try to change your subject. Oh.
I didn't even think about it. Hope sighed, frowning.
夢を諦めないで
I don't want you to give up on your dreams.
He's been dreaming about banging a cat. I don't know, I think you should give up on your dreams. Some dreams are meant to be given up on.
Yeah.
I'm not giving up on anything.
See?
And anyway, I don't understand that Miss Murray's won't marry an ordinary officer cook, but I have a plan.
Oh, come on.
A soft cushion slapped against Ethan's cheek. Hope tried her best to look serious, but she was too pleased to pull it off. Besides, she was burning with
どんな
curiosity.
計画
What's the plan?
I'm writing a book on mythology.
ってことは
Wow.
売れっ子歴史コンサルタントって
So now,
じゃなくて
So now you are not only a proper history consultant, but also a talented writer?
It's confusing at the same
悪
time.
くないわね
Guess I'll start getting used to this, though. Yeah.
Ethan
Yeah,
grinned.
tangled.
Something of that sort, yes.
Oh,
その将来のベストセラーになる本
and what's your future
どんな
bestseller
話な
about?
の
It seemed to Hope,
Oh.
just for a brief moment, that Ethan's eyes became round and shiny pools of black nacre. Chthonic gods of ancient Greece. I don't know how to say any of those, sorry. Just guessing.
No, you're fine.
Hope and Nightmare. Ending 4 out of 6. That was the end?
Blue Lights Hotel.
Oh.
I guess you can go back to one of the saves if you want. Do you want to go back?
Something
Something
changed.
changed.
to the last choice, I guess. Well, let's see what the something to change thing first is.
Okay.
Because we still got probably 20 minutes to kill.
Okay.
If
The
you're
light
cool with
from a
it.
single source. Oh, yeah, I'm cool with it. The light from a single source is split with a half-silvered mirror.
Because that was completely not worth it, if that's the ending we get.
I agree. The results beams are each reflected by a series of mirrors. Aww! Didn't get the ponytail. Rude. We expect them to combine at some point. I'm not saying it's safe. All I'm saying is...
Yeah, I think we just picked the wrong choices.
I did, yeah.
No, you're fine. I wasn't like...
Oh, I
you
know,
never
I know.
can. No, we tried to save the cat. We ended up inside of her. Like,
yeah.
the choices weren't really... It's not your fault at all. I mean like that.
Appreciate it.
It's one of those we probably have to
Don't worry.
save. Like all 5 or 6 endings, maybe.
Yeah. Happy dreamland. Oh no, we're back. Fear not the devil, but the God, for he walks amongst us and his eyes are hungry. Thank you, little lamb.
Pocket catnip. Go.
Exactly. There are mirrors behind the mirrors and doors behind doors. Some of them not like the other.
One of these kids is not like the other one. One of these kids is dead.
Yeah! Is it raining?
Oh, that was it? I'm sorry. I usually click like one more to kind of... Alright, let's go back. Last choice.
Yep.
Answer the call, as we should have. Killed us. The acquaintance didn't know if it all had any relation to the work he was doing. But what about Ethan's work? His research shed light on what lay dormant in the dark and awakened it? Was it Ethan's avid curiosity or the question that teased his appetite? Which one was cursed, the chicken or the egg? Ethan was angry. I'm hungry. Angry as hell. He wanted to end it. All of it, once and for all.
That didn't make any sense, which one was good.
I don't know. He wanted to face his fear, even if the fear was no longer his own. Even if it was crawling through the wires and climbing communication towers to breathe out its noxious spores into the air. I think I want noodles.
You want noodles?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ethan was angry, but also terrified. What he wanted to think was a delusion took root and grew stronger as he tried to deceive himself. It was as incorporeal as the email in his mailbox, yet at the same time as real. I was listening to the... I don't know, like, I'm confused as well. Do you have any thoughts on him? Like, I think he might be schizophrenic.
Yeah,
If
pretty
I had
much,
to
yeah,
guess.
that's what I'm thinking is...
It looks...
It's a
He was
bit-
abused as
yeah,
a kid. From
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah,
last
from the
one.
uncle, right?
From his dad and his uncle, yeah. I don't think the grandma having crazy hair is really that abusive. Like, that's not her fault.
Yeah, that's just a weird memory as a
Yeah,
kid sort of thing.
this is what it is.
Yeah, I think,
I think
yeah, this
playing
is definitely
doctor
a
with the
summer-
uncle is not a good one. And the dad hitting
Yeah.
him, probably not good either.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I think it's definitely some kind of, like, trauma-induced sort of thing.
And I don't know if this is a real cat. I really hope we're not sleeping with a real cat. Ethan wanted to face the fear so that it would take shape in a name, a box in which that fear could fit. Maybe then he could have dealt with it. I really thought this was going to be like a sexy romance horror. That's why I picked it. Like, I mean, all the pictures are of her ass. Like, I don't...
Look, this is what we get for not getting the DLC, okay?
I know. I told my brother when I walked out too. I'm like, I've read like 95% of the time. Like, I have someone actually here to read with me, and it's not panning out. I know. We got clickbaited by ass. Story of my life. Wouldn't change a thing.
Oh.
That's why Ethan got behind the wheel of his old sedan. He wasn't doing it for the writer who was tormented by shadows. He was doing it for himself. In the email, the acquaintance described in detail how to find his house and how to get inside. Too much detail, as if he already resigned to his fate. Something would get to him very soon and he wouldn't figure anything out. This is just a notice, Mr. Harrison, a notice of life termination. This happens when you look into the abyss for too long. But looking isn't enough, is it? I thought that was something else. You shine a light into it, throw stones, and whistle frantically, like a vandal who managed to get into an abandoned house. I thought those were legs.
Hey, Ken?
Yo.
Give me one moment. Yeah, 1 second. I just gotta change over.
You're excited and terrified, and then only terror remains as you realize the door has slammed shut behind you, and the handle won't budge.
Sorry, the internet was shitting on itself. That was...
This thought made Ethan speed up, and then, just as abruptly, to hit the brakes. The wheels let out a short hysterical shriek. The car swerved and stopped on the side of the road. The blood was pounding in his ears. Ethan's breath came in short gasps, his eyes searching blindly in the dark. After calming down a little, Ethan pretended. Who was he trying to fool? The night road was empty. He was examining his navigator, but there was but one thought in his head. What is he doing? The hell is he doing? Seems like he has to hell out. There was no one to answer. It's not too late to turn back. Turn the car around, go back to the city, to the apartment, lie down on the sofa and sleep. Sleep until the morning comes. In the morning he'll call Hope again and... The thought was cut short. Actually, it didn't lead anywhere from the very beginning. A dead end. The truth was, he had no place or reason to go back. He wanted to go back to the past, and that task was beyond him or his old Toyota. His Toyota. In the present, this is just a really long Toyota commercial. He had nothing left but the granite gray road ahead and the decision to go. If he hurried, he might be able to help. The car slowly took off the rest of the way, and there wasn't much left. Ethan was thinking about his acquaintance. Or were they friends? Probably. You don't take acquaintances for a journey to the bottom of the abyss, do you? Ethan was thinking about his friend, how long he'd awake in particular. It had been, Ethan glanced at the phone in the open glove box, quite a long time. A month or so, judging by the emails. How long can a person stay awake? The question followed his car silently.
Is that the angry
It is.
game reviewer?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Ethan drove into the suburbs and turned the car around on Deputy Road. I just made Em watch, what did we watch? Die Hard and some of the Castlevanias? The second one.
Yeah.
The 25 miles per hour speed limit road sign at the bend of the road seemed as white as an old bone.
What a terrible night for a curse.
Ethan turned down Sycamore Street. The lawn in front of House 8 was overgrown with tall grass, so tall as if it hadn't been touched for... How long can a person stay awake? I think it's like 13 days and you die? I don't know. Ethan thought it was probably the rainy weather. He didn't remember much of the past week, but was pretty sure about the rain. Even though the ground was still damp and springy underfoot. Yes, it must be the rain. Even it makes grass grow faster. It's water. Sorry, it's like sometime like glasses. When he got out of the car, a shadow detached from the trees near the house. Ethan stiffened, then eased a moment later. The figure quickly walked away along the narrow concrete path. Just a passerby. Ethan watched him go. The concrete beneath his boots gave way to gravel. Ethan walked past a sprawling hemlock covered with rosettes of small white flowers. The bush reached up to mid-thigh. All the windows were dim, no lights anywhere. The house stood a little way off, dark, quiet, and still as the night itself. Almost like the house was slumbering along with its host. For a moment, Ethan felt stupid and was about to turn back to the car, but stayed after all. He was invited. No, not that. He was called for help. No. Maybe he and his friend got a little too stressed, and that's all. Induced delusional disorder in all its glory. Maybe Ethan was desperate to be needed, so he jumped at the chance to be someone's savior. Perhaps his unfortunate friend had finally fallen asleep, and disturbing him was a bad decision overall. Well, Ethan was fine with that. He just wanted to make sure everything was okay. Ethan firmly knocked on the door. No one answered, neither the first time nor the third. No lights came on in any of the rooms, and there was no sound behind the door. One of the windows on the second floor was open. Ethan moved away from the porch and tried to take a better look. No movement. The house was asleep, and its sleep resembled torpor. Ethan himself came to think he might be dreaming. But if two people share the same dream, is it any different from reality? Slowly, as if really it was a dream, Ethan went to the flower tub the letter had mentioned and took the spare key from its hiding place. Just as slowly, he returned to the door. The key rattled 3 times in the lock, and the door drifted inward into the darkness. At the top of the stairs leading to the second floor, there sat a cat. Ethan tried to call out to it, but the cat didn't move, still watching him with bright, round eyes. Ethan plunged into the darkness of the house. The darkness and the stench, which were almost one and the same here. The smell, unbearably thick, dense, and wrapped the house in a suffocating shroud. Ethan tried not to think about where it was coming from. Instead, he thought of Selene, or rather her dark counterpart, Hecate. The ancient Greeks believed that she appears in the form of a dog. But dogs were sacrificed to her, weren't they? Better turn the light on. Hecate? I don't know how to say that name. It was really better to.
I'm not quite sure.
But Ethan couldn't gather enough courage to do it. Dogs are natural enemies of cats. Light is the natural enemy of darkness. Life is the natural enemy of death. And what wish could be more natural than a wish to destroy your natural enemy? Ethan stumbled over something. He looked down. A hand was peeking out from behind the kitchen counter, blackened and swollen. Of course, Ethan would have seen more if he had had a flashlight. Somehow Ethan wasn't surprised. As if it's him, not his friend, who had long ago resigned to his fate. You have received a notice of life termination. It suddenly dawned on him. Madness, curse, and death are contagious, and that is not a Dark Age superstition, but an actual law of reality. Selene, Hecate, Artemis, madness, curse, and death. Here lies the accurate answer, as accurate as it gets. The answer has 3 faces, and he himself wished to look into each of them.
Ding.
A sound of glass breaking in the hall. But it wasn't a window collapsing. The light bulbs. Someone was smashing the light bulbs. Ah, shit, I skipped it. The sound was getting closer. Someone was smashing the light bulb one by one. Okay, the sound was getting closer. Ethan closed his eyes.
Good night.
What was the question again? That was the achievement.
I'm not too sure.
No, that was the achievement.
Oh,
Something changed.
yes! We're back to the channel. Happy dreamland. I will give you the kingdom of.
I think you have your microphone away from your mouth again, boss.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
Yeah.
Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you lose on earth will be lost in heaven.
Loosed. Yep.
Oh, sorry, Pinky.
I don't understand that ending either.
Yeah. The hands in the same shirt. I know, that one was a bit weird too. What do we do when you feel lonely? I don't feel lonely. What do you do when you feel lonely? I don't feel lonely. What do you do when you feel lonely? Something bad happens if you ask me again. Ask again. What do you do? Oh, told you. The hands are so sure. Blue Light Hotel. We welcome your stay for a moderate price. Hi, Serby!
Okay.
Okay.
I don't understand that either. I don't think the last choice is going to take us to the last choice, yeah. I mean, to the last choice, I should say. Sorry.
Yeah, I think we'd have to load one of them. Okay, so I think we told her the truth.
We did, yeah. You want to lie to her and see what's going on?
Yeah, let's lie.
This is when she found the hairs.
Yeah.
Oh, the hairs. Oh, there you go. That's what you're talking about. I mean, I don't mind, but you sure you want to change the color just because of the delivery guy?
A delivery guy?
Yeah. I sometimes order food. I've had a lot of dark-haired delivery guys lately. I've been banging them.
So, fascinating. And what were all those delivery guys doing in our bathtub?
I don't know. I don't know, Hope. Maybe I got distracted. A couple of times. Maybe they just want to see we take a bath now. It's bath time. You know, if I get a call from an agency, I switch immediately. Hope listened to the explanation with an unreadable expression. At least that ghastly smile was gone. Ethan felt a little bit better. Maybe the carrier was prowling around the apartment while I was distracted. God, why didn't I think of that? Maybe that's why my stuff keeps on disappearing.
Who knows?
I don't think she believes us.
I don't think she believes us.
Hope smiled bitterly.
At least we found out it wasn't a cat, huh? I think she knows.
Ethan felt like all the skin above the collar filled with heat and began to throb. Membranes. Valves. Whitish films? Yellow bones. Innards shiny like the berry jelly. Pulsating, contracting, trembling. Ethan closed his eyes involuntarily, as if he could squeeze a vision out of them.
Ethan, are you okay? You look bad.
At least there was no mockery in Hope's voice. Yes. No. Ethan leaned on the table and rubbed his face with his hand, stretching the skin. And even vessels in places where they get very close to the worn red upholstery. He clenched his teeth and slapped his cheeks. The vision finally disappeared. No, everything's not okay. Not okay at all. Sorry, Hope, but I don't know what to do about it. And that was true.
Is there anything you want to tell me?
Ethan shook his head. If I knew what I wanted to say, I would have said it already. I should just call the police and let them sort it out. It's their job, after all. I'm tired of all of this. Hope sighed.
I'm tired too, Ethan. It's not even the end yet.
What?
It's not the end of the month. Perhaps I should start sorting things out, otherwise there'll be no bonus for me when the paycheck arrives.
Hope got up slowly, as if hesitating.
Alrighty, I have to go. I'll be back later.
See you tonight. Hope waved her hand weakly. When the door shut behind Hope, Ethan stood still for some time, listening to the high-pitched noise and thinking about nothing. His head either too light or too heavy for his body. And he felt the small hairs on his neck standing up. Someone was looking at the back of his head. Ethan turned around slowly. I'm calling the police. Ethan spoke each word loud and clear. It was a decent plan. An actually decent one. We did all this. We get to see her butt.
Yes! Ta-da!
Ta-da. I don't know how to auto-forward. Why won't they just give me button commands? Help.
Oh, here we
Control. Okay. Who are you? We didn't ask that one.
We did an awesome one, yeah.
The girl's eyes became round, and her face turned into a surprised grimace. Overly surprised. Ethan immediately remembered the time when he and Hope came across a couple of street mimes. She poked her thin finger into her chest, which made her tense nipples show up for a second under the thin fabric of her dress.
私
Me?
私を探してた
I am what you're looking for. Yes,
She-
she is.
She spoke slowly, stretching her vowels with some kind of delight. A moment later, the girl reached for something behind her back, quickly pulled it to her lips, and took a sip. Ethan's throat became tight with blood that abruptly rushed to his head. We read this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, broke the glass. Darker, don't come any closer.
Yeah. Why is she still sad?
Ethan couldn't see it, but he knew. He felt that Hope was really standing down there, and she was looking at the window, of course. Though she couldn't see much anymore, as a blurry veil covered her eyes. The girl slowly turned around and stared at him with her eyes open wide. Her shoulders shook as if she was going to cry, but she was laughing. At first, it was a couple of stifled laughs. Then it became the laughter of someone who had just heard a great joke and gradually turned into wild barking screams. He has to stop it right now. Ethan wanted to rush to the window, but he took just one step and froze in place. The girl must be out of her mind. She's stoned, or worse. She may have a syringe, and he doesn't want any more problems. He only wants this thing removed from his windowsill, welded in a steel box, and dumped somewhere in the middle of the Atlantic. He still had his phone in his hand.
Oh. 911, what's the address of your emergency?
The bitch shrank, hunched, but kept cackling like a pack of coyotes, yelping on a moonlit night. She was writhing with laughter, and the pale rags of dry, flabby skin were shaking in the rhythm of her movements. Her dress looked like a death shroud. He suddenly thought she was much older than he thought at first.
What's going on?
Ethan looked at her for the first time, a mixture of hate and disgust in his eyes, then turned away, running his fingers through his hair. There is a stranger in my apartment, a woman, most likely on drugs or just insane.
Can you see her right now?
Ethan could see only the wall in front of him, but he heard the deafening howl. It was echoing throughout his skull, beating into his temporal bones like a desperate bird. Ethan clenched his teeth. Yes.
Yes. Does she have a weapon?
That ass. Maybe. She threatened me with cake.
Yes. Can you leave the apartment?
No. This scum can escape and I don't want her to get... Ethan hesitated.
I can't hear you. Sir, what is happening? Speak up. I can't hear you. What is happening?
The terrifying laughter kept echoing in Ethan's ears. There was no one behind him.
That good catnip?
He approached the window slowly, as if it was happening in a dream, the shards of Hope's cup drenched under his feet. Just like before, the window was closed. Ethan opened and carefully looked down. He did not see the body. Too good to be true, but he had to check. Only the gray pavement, which gradually turned black as it actually started raining. Ethan looked across the street just in time to notice the familiar cream-colored coat disappearing behind the corner of the nearby house. Hope! Hope! He screamed so loud that something snapped in his throat, but she didn't hear him. Maybe she didn't want to hear. Ethan called her at least 100 times, hoping to answer. Ethan thought he could come to her office, but eventually decided it would only make things worse. The police were in his apartment 23 minutes, 40 seconds later. They didn't find any signs of forced entry, and the call call record, as Ethan found out later, had nothing that resembled laughter or howling. No extraneous sounds, as the officer said. Hope returned sometime between late night and early in the morning. Yeah, let's see, is this... Okay, well, this is apparently new. The rest wasn't. Ethan sat in front of his laptop staring at the monitor. Yeah, we did read this one. He was looking for something special, and what was special about it? Say letters from AG were gradually becoming more and more concerned. At some point, concern turned to cold and aggressive. Ethan idly skimmed through the notice of contract termination. Now, what was he looking for? We did all this. I don't understand now. Any preference? Answer? Don't answer? Probably answer?
Yeah, let's answer.
He must. Something that settled in his house. His skin got covered in cold goosebumps. This is different. He could feel the eyes again, focusing on a single point in the back of his head. Something was watching him. He tried to forget, to repress, to convince himself that nothing was happening, but something was looking at him. And it wasn't a matter of belief. The silence in his ears was a thin, tinkling note. It was watching. Ethan jumped on his feet frantically, looking around. A short, desperate cry escaped from his chest, and his eyes, with a bulging mesh of burst capillaries, opened wide. There was nothing behind him, nothing but the black void of the room, but he couldn't trust it. Ethan knew he wasn't alone. God almighty, he wasn't alone. Ethan wiped his mouth. A long red smear appeared on his sleeve and ruffled his hair. The skin on the back of his neck was scaldingly cold. Ethan was afraid. But what was he afraid of? He tried to think coherently, to crumple his formless, unfathomable terror into a single image, but he couldn't. He was afraid of the shadows, of the unfamiliar smell of the apartment, of those thoughts that fluttered in his head like trapped moths. He was afraid of what he might say out loud if he tried to speak to the dark emptiness of the room. Ethan suddenly saw the white dress hem swaying in the still, wax-like air. The rippling flesh of the memory, the curtains at the open window, the death shroud. He remembered the terrible ghost and what she said, what he had to do. Ethan was suffocating. He sank to the floor. He was afraid of the white-dressed wraith? Yes? But the fear was deeper, bigger, and the source of it was elsewhere. This was not the cause, but one of the effects. The dark room swayed before his eyes. It was intelligent, alive. Ethan could smell its foul breath. He has to go. He has to find the house from the letter. Maybe then he'll find the answers too. Maybe the two of them will figure out a way to escape. When Ethan crossed the threshold of his apartment, the hardest thing was not to run. He found the right street with no problem at all. The roads of this part of the suburb formed a simple, clear scheme, so he didn't need any help. Still, Ethan desperately wanted to pull up in front of the little house with the lights still on. Run up on the porch, knock on the door, and ask. Just ask. Ask anything. Ethan swallowed with dry throat and kept driving. House number 8 was hidden behind the trees, cut off from its neighbors by a wide lawn. Hell, you can't call this a lawn anymore. Oh, come on. Hold on. The grass crept into the cracks of the driveway and had taken root in thick tufts. Among the weeds of the lawn, wild mint stirred its leaves drowsily. Just as if an enormous hand torn out a patch from one of the fields, Ethan was driving by on his way here, and left in the middle of a sleepy street as a prank. The night outside Ethan's car was fresh and cool. This and the ride itself cleared his head a bit, but now he was sinking back into sticky uneasiness. As he got out of the car, he slammed the door loudly, so that the house would know he wasn't scared. But of course he was. He was scared as hell, and he still didn't know what he was afraid of. Ethan went to the porch and stood at the steps for a moment, looking at the front door. Then he walked around the house. There were no lights in any of the windows. I'll go back to my car and get out of here. But Ethan didn't do anything like that. Instead, he went up to the porch and after a moment's thought, put aside the flower pot with the letter mentioned. It'll just check things up, that's all. The spare key was in place. He won't go inside. It's just a small check. The key turned in the lock. It all went incredibly slow, as if Ethan was terrified of what he was doing. And he was. Just...
Oh, that was super red.
A burst of sharp pain burned the back of his head. The door, the key, and the hand that held it faded in a crimson-black nothingness. Ethan was seeing a terrible dream. He was back in the white room with Hope. Hope sat on the faded red sofa, her hands clasped in her lap. Her eyes were staring into nothing. Ethan thought Hope wasn't seeing him again, but she was. Hope looked at him with her blue eyes, and in the reeling horror, Ethan realized how much pain there was in them.
She had the key. All this time, she had the key. She had all the keys.
Ooh, Ethan wanted to ask, but didn't have time. Because Hope wasn't there anymore.
Oh!
Only her head kept lying on the sofa, severed, oozing blood from the stump of the neck. Suddenly the head moved. Ethan tried to scream, and he couldn't, as he had no mouth. All he could do was watch Hope's terrible, severed head slowly turn towards him, looking for him with dry, glassy eyes. Watch the black snakes moving in her hair, and a mess of yellow-red entrails spilling out of the ripped, gutted sofa. Ethan tried to scream again. The abhorrent vision faded. But the eyes remained, Hope's empty, lifeless eyes. Through the tight throbbing pain, Ethan didn't realize right away that he was actually seeing them. Hope sat opposite to him, pale in the moonlight. Both of them were in the same room. Ethan reached for her with all of his being, but he couldn't move. He was well tied. Hope's hair was light and long again. Is that a wig? The thought was out of place, almost ridiculous.
Ethan, why did you do this? Why did you do all of this?
He might have believed that she really needed an answer if it was not for a tightly rolled gag in his mouth.
Now I have to kill you.
I mean, this still isn't a deal breaker, but let's see where this goes.
I have to. Do you understand?
This isn't even like the worst first date. She sobbed.
Hope was a scare. Yeah. But first I have to confess something. I read your mail.
I read your mail.
Alright. After what happened at the window, I just couldn't help it. I found this address in one of the emails. Her address.
Oh, please. It's not what you think. All that came out of Ethan's throat was a grunt.
Don't strain yourself. You have a wound on your head. If you strain yourself, you may lose consciousness. I haven't told you everything yet. Possibly tangled. It's important for me to share. Laura says it helps. I don't know. Does it help, Ethan?
Right now, another sob.
I parked nearby and waited. Waited for so long. I knew you were coming sooner or later. I saw her come and go. You weren't there. I was beginning to doubt it, but you did come. You are here.
Hope smiled, yet her eyes remained blank.
すごく疲れたわ。
I'm so tired.
嫌われるかもしれないけど、
You
拍
may
手
hate
し
me
な
for
きゃ
it,
ね。
but I had to confess.
でもそれってすごく難しい
It's not
の
an
よ。
easy task for me, you know.
嘘は大嫌い。
I hate lying.
もう疲れたわ、イ
I'm
ーサン。
sick of myself, Ethan.
なんでこうなったの？
Why does it have to end like this?
Ethan didn't have an answer.
私はね、
My problem is that I can't lose.
負けるなんて考えたこともな
I
い。
never learned to.
私、
I tried,
頑張
Ethan.
ったのよ。イーサン、頑張っても頑張っても無理だ
I
っ
tried
た。
so hard, but this is stronger than me.
子供の時、
You
お父さ
know,
んが
when I was a
プール
little
に連
girl,
れて行ってく
my
れ
dad
た。
took me to the pool.
泳げなかったけど、
I couldn't swim and he wanted us to go
カヤック
kayaking
に行きたか
together.
ったみたい。小さな可愛いクマの
I had those huge inflatable armbands
インフ
with
レ
the
ータブ
tiny
ル
cute
ア
bear
ーマ
cubs
ー
on
バ
them.
ンドを持って
Can you
た。
imagine?
想像で
Again, the terrible glassy smile.
レッスンが終わっても、
And so the lesson ended, and I still had no idea what I was supposed to do.
でもお父さんをがっかりさせたく
But
な
I
く
couldn't let
て、
my daddy down.
それで唇が
So I
青
kept
くなる
floundering in
ま
the
で
pool
プール
until
で
my
泳ぎ
lips
続
turned
け
blue.
た。コーチが私を水から引き
The
ずり
coach
上
had
げ
to
るまで
literally pull me out of the water.
あの時からまだ変わってない。
I think I haven't changed since then.
私は
Not a bit.
私は常にナンバ
I
ー
have to be
ワン
the
でなきゃい
number
けない
one.
のよ。
Always.
最高の存在。
The best. Around.
Around.
唯一無二の存在。
Nothing's ever good. One and only.
そうでなきゃいられないの。
I can't have it any other way.
イーサン、聞いて
Do you
る？
follow me, Ethan?
There wasn't even a hint of hatred in the way she looked, the way she spoke, and that's what filled Ethan with mesmerizingly crippling dread. Hope loomed over him, the pipe in her hands, so close that Ethan could see the rust scabs clearly. Oh, got a lead pipe that's gonna teach us not to cheat.
Exactly.
I'm fine
I'm
with
scared,
that.
Ethan.
すごく怖いわ。
I'm terribly, awfully scared.
She ran her hand gently over his cheek.
大好きだよ。
I love you.
You don't have to do this, Hope, Ethan would have said if only he could, but she had to. Hope shrieked, as if she had to squash an ugly bug, and brought the pipe down on his skull with a crunch. Then once more, and more. She repeated the simple action until her husband's head turned into a nauseating yellow red mass. Her father, who was a doctor, would probably have called it homogeneous, because there were certainly quite a large fragments of bone left in it. No matter how hard Hope tried to put a quick end to it, she was just an ordinary girl. She did what she could, replacing lack of ability with effort.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we would have much rather got punched.
We didn't even have sex in this one.
Well, okay, we need a DLC to see the sex.
Yeah, maybe. Wait, is she having sex with us dead?
I hope so.
That was a weird...
I think it's probably meant to be more breathing,
Oh, okay.
but
When she finished, Hope put the pipe down next to the body. She wanted to wipe off the blood and all the rest, but that wouldn't be wise. The pipe was the murder weapon, after all. Then Hope turned on her phone and made all the necessary calls. She confessed to what she had done, and all the details, that she left some things out. In the era of sex scandals, she wanted her husband to be remembered as Ethan Harrison, who truly loved history, not Ethan Harrison, who cheated on his poor wife. After all, she really did love him. Covering what was left of her husband with her cream-colored coat, Hope felt exhausted, and she still had to take care of herself. To her shame, that part of the plan Hope didn't think through. She remembered there was a window on the second floor. The thought was simple, clear, almost joyous, and did not quite belong to her.
so I figured the house used to take pity on her and gave her a clue.
The window was open, and there were lots of trusty cables in the room upstairs, which was convenient as her body became terribly heavy, as if made of stone, and every little thing took a great effort. In the very last moment before her feet were in the air, Hope thought she might survive or suffer for a long time. it was all before it was all over. But soon it was over soon enough. But it was over soon. No hope.
No hope.
Alright.
Oh, there we go.
Well, we
Right
saw
over.
ending 4, 5, and 6. Alright.
Hell yeah.
We're running near the end. I just want to see if Don't Interfere does anything. He does. Okay, so this is one where he didn't answer to the house, but she knows that he lied and cheated.
Okay.
He got a ton of history. He started working back. And that was it. That was it. Okay. Aw. I was kind of hoping we got to bang the Carecrow more.
I know.
Something has changed.
Changed.
And then something is ending.
Yeah. It's us.
Yeah.
Happy dreamer. Fill me and thou shall be full. The fruit is sour and bitter to the taste. This is a food. This is a drink. Hey, you're not supposed to be here.
I think that was the best ending, number 3, where no one died.
Yeah. Says who? The Blank and Blake show.
Do you want to go back?
We gotta go back. You don't have to do this.
What is this thing called? Selene?
In the I don't like that, Ken.
No, doesn't
Like
need to
it
be
at
your
all.
friend.
Okay, thank God. Winter Wonderland. How to build a snowman? It begins with a core, an application point.
It's just not going.
You will need material too. Harvesting it might prove difficult. Yeah, I think you're saying with these ones it was a little bit like delayed.
Yeah.
Something like that. If you manage, however, the fruits of your labor will be plentiful. Look at that happy snowman. Behold the absolute this manifestation. Okay, that one was a bit better. A bit more wholesome. Blue Lights Hotel. Blue lights. As blue as it gets. This happened, yes, around 5 a.m. I was standing right there, making a sandwich. A toast, a peanut butter, and a jelly, yes. Then I saw, blue lights. That's how I knew the veneer is very thin. I know how it sounds like, but there's more to it, you know? You have to do this properly, else you get into trouble. Yeah, some doors are bad. That's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Once it's on, you can't stop.
Pringles cans.
Exactly. That's how it goes.
Or maybe it was Lay's. Once you pop, you just can't stop.
No, I think you're right. That was... Oh, actually... Yeah, Lay's. Oh, there's a devil in your house. Again.
Or was Lay's, bet you can't eat just one.
Oh.
I think it was
Oh,
Pringles was pop.
Actually, I think you're right, yeah. Pringles was pop, and then Lay's was... Yeah. Oh, was it Doritos was you can't just have one? Will it find you? Well, here's a little trick. Join the happy getaway. He got a cruise and you get to pay the cat girl. Book tickets today, so devil never finds you.
And that's
The tomato soup is finally reducing. What a weird game.
I know.
Oh,
Well, we didn't see the
So-
second or first ending, as far as I know. The first one, I think, is after you beat the game. Yeah, it starts over like a weird... For reading on it. There we go. Don't let her in.
you stayed outside.
This isn't his house. Maybe he pays for it, but it is not his house. Even if it was his house, would anything have changed? It's easier to put the blame on the landlady. The landlady would have fit. And he would have to find a new hole to crawl in and forget about the deposit too. But was she really the problem? No. The problem was that he couldn't even take care of himself. Taking care of someone else is a much bigger task, even if it's just for one night. No. I'm sorry. I can't let you in. He must have just shaken her head off to dry. Or just shaking her head to dry off, but he thought she nodded.
I understand. You simply don't want a stupid 60 cat lady in the house. I get it.
When the door
I'll
locked,
just share my. Sorry.
he felt a pang of guilt. You're fine. Did you do the right
Guess I
thing?
have to put my booby somewhere else.
He had no answer. Should put some bedding for her on the porch, he thought, but a sudden wave of fatigue swept him off his feet. He somehow made it to the living room and collapsed on the couch. The body, too light and too heavy, fell through the upholstery fabric, the felt layer, and a row of compressed springs the wooden frame. He kept falling into the pitch blackness until it closed over him like a smooth dome.
The body? Oh.
He wasn't dreaming. It's just weird he's reading, so it's like his novel.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't dreaming. I don't want to do these
something
assumptions.
changed. October 8th. I got an F for the essay. Mom will be mad. The bus driver said it was good and I should keep writing. He sucks, but I'd rather have a B anyway. Her mum isn't too blank.
Oh, we have no choice now. We have to let her in.
Okay.
No, don't bathe the cat.
Never mind.
Alright. Let me see what you have. Okay, so he's cleaning the cat. Bitterness. We didn't choose that. Don't mind me. I'm here to collect the tomato soup. What? Alright, doesn't matter. Focus on the name? Doesn't matter. Shit, doesn't matter. I think it was...
Yeah, because we
you
focus on it.
Yeah. You hear things scratching in his house. You know how to deal with rats. Let's just watch the scratching. He was still losing his mind. But now he had a cat. Why did we get a cat? Just
don't know.
Sure. Something scratched this time. What was different? Something is coming, said the computer screen. Careful, said the flat white ceiling lamp. Should be downstairs, said the crumpled bed. Downstairs. First floor was dark, veiled in slumber, just like the rest of the house. There was no point in turning the light if you were going to stay in the same room, typing all night, and all morning, and all day, and all the next night, too, unless, of course, the cat comes. And even if he had to go out, he knew the house perfectly well, even bonded with it. He needed no light to get anywhere he wanted. That's why he wouldn't turn on the lights. So the one who scratches wouldn't know that he knows. He decided so as he went down the stairs silently. The downstairs was quiet. He listened to the sounds for a few minutes, but it sounded unconvincing. If something had started scratching, it wouldn't go away that easily. He knew that for sure. Those pests always come back. He had to arm himself somehow. With a bat, for example. He still didn't put the bat away, so it was lying somewhere in the dark living room, heavy and reliable. All he had to do was reach it before the one who scratches gets back to his work. As he passed the kitchen, a prickly shiver ran through him, as if someone was looking at him from the darkness of the room. Or was it the room itself watching him? Either way, he knew better than to turn around and peer into the dark maw of the entrance. If he does, if he dares, something will come out. Something he doesn't want to know about. He found the bat under the dresser, and just in time, because the next moment he wouldn't have been able to move. Something was scratching in the walls, a new, disgusting sound that had nothing to do with rats. To be more precise, this sound could not have anything to do with any living being.
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
A painful spasm passed through his body. He crouched as if someone had hit him in the gut, and then he did something stupid. Stop it!
Like say I love you.
Stop it, Ron. Aw, that's how she left. Please stop! I can't take it anymore. But the nightmares don't end just because you ask politely, or because you really can't take it anymore. It felt like the voice didn't belong to him. Of course the voice was his own, but he certainly would never have done something like that. You never talk to the one who scratches.
Okay. Oh, did it not come through? Sorry. Squeak, squeak.
Close enough. Microphone needs to go near the mouth, boss.
Sorry. There we go.
He'd probably bear it if there were any visible traces left, but there were none. Only the screech here and there, as if something was trying its strength into the house, looking around for something, looking for him. He regretted speaking out loud many, many times. It would have been better if he had died quietly right there. This would have solved so many problems. He was leaning against the back of the sofa and quietly whimpering when it went silent, as suddenly as it had begun. For a while he continued sitting crooked like a giant fetus, hugging his knees and his bat, and only moved when he really believed everything had calmed down.
It didn't calm down.
Nothing was calm. In that very moment, the round metal handle of the back door began to shiver. He didn't immediately realize where the sound was coming from, the soft rattle of metal and glass, but he had a clue. The transparent glass on the back door was closed by a thin polka-dotted curtain, and had trembled in rhythm with the sound. Then the house got quiet again. Some force, the same one that beckons to the window on high floors, called him to look behind the polka-dotted curtain. He knew just one look would be enough to make him lose his mind, but the call was too hard to resist, and he hadn't slept for so long, or too long. Slowly, as if half asleep, he made his way to the door. He could see the pattern now, so close it was. Small dots, one each quivering with a silent scream. Do not look. He yanked the curtain aside and stared into the darkness with the eyes of a man facing a truck moving at full speed. Of course there was no one at the door. After that, he decided to always keep the bat nearby.
Oh, we're back.
You never got over it, did you?
Is something wrong?
The cat was lying on his lap. It had been a long time since our last visit, much longer than he would have liked. I don't know. Something has happened to me, and it's not insomnia. As if I'm missing something. As if something is missing inside of me. I can't explain it well enough, but maybe you know what I mean. The cat was staring at nothing in silence, something only cats can do, right? Do you believe in ghosts?
Why would you ask?
I think I've run into something I can't quite explain. The cat was silent for a while.
Maybe. It's a matter of perspective.
What do you mean?
That which lost those who you've lost. A number gets bigger over time. The struggle is not to become a ghost
問
yourself.
題じゃん。幽霊になる前の時間が
Before time, I mean.
だい
Something tightened in his throat.
あれ
I didn't want to upset you.
だとしたらごめん。
I really didn't.
I don't want to lose you. Is it possible? The cat looked at him for a long moment, and her pupils, unusually large, looked as black as moonless night.
耳をちょっと書いてくれる？
Scratch my ears, alright?
最高の歌を歌うよ。
I'll sing you my best song.
Oh god. Yeah, I hope this isn't a screaming one. I like all of your songs.
そうみたいね。
Hello, Tanuki. I know.
でも、今回は
But
最
I'll
高
sing
の
the
歌
best
だ
one.
よ。
He ran his hand through the warm, thick fur that smelled of dust and something sweet. The cat was smiling at him, lying in his arms. He could feel with all of his being the vibrations of another, very different world as they were lulling his body. What's going on, Tanuki? I'll get your things in a moment. It's Em.
Hi!
Who's-
I am the House of M. There we are.
The next time he heard the one who scratches right behind his window. I keep checking to see if we've done these with the tab. Beneath the window
Yeah, that's
open on
okay.
the second floor, to be precise. At that moment, he was struggling with a tough scene near the story's ending. Imagining things is quite common if you haven't slept for a while and did a good job of burning out. You think you're hearing things, like as if someone is quietly slurping in the far corner just beyond where your eye can see. Or, for instance, as if it's scratching the wall and brick crumbs are getting stuck under its nail. And it's climbing higher and higher. He realized it could all be in his head, so he took his hands off the keyboard and listened carefully. Just in case. It could be nothing that was actually scratching. But his whole body already knew what was going on. It became cold and stiff, exactly like a house wall. Oh yeah, boy, you do hear it. Why, of course you hear it. Why would it be any different? After all, the one who scratches finally smelled you, and now it won't back off.
Squeak, squeak, squeak.
And that's when his nervous tick came in.
Greek. Baby. Bud. Greek. Bud.
What a duo they were. He had to hold his breath to keep back the mixture of hysterical giggles and sobs trying to burst out of his chest. If they had escaped, as he knew, that would have been the end of him. And otherwise, he still had a chance. Pretty solid one. If he managed to suppress the tick, that is. When the text doesn't work out... I like that it's spelled that wrong. When the text does work out, just look away from the screen and wait a little. The tick will subside by itself. But what about the case when the one who scratches is creeping up the wall higher and higher and you hear its nails, and it's got oh so many of them, leaving tiny, tiny grooves in the house cladding. They are very sharp, those nails.
Greek. Greek. Squeak.
His mother always had fitting prayers ready for the occasion. But this time, this wasn't a right moment to think of it, as he had to try and do something. This time, even his mother would have been taken by surprise. She'd probably have a consultant I don't know how to say it for him, as this case sure needs a professional's opinion. Oh, Pokemon. Something like, greetings. My boy has been sleeping for a month or so, and it's already started to get out of hand. He sits in a dark room all day writing his stupid scribbles. I don't know why he got into his head that he can write, because after all these years in business, he's still neither a name nor connections. You know what I mean? And besides, she was always fond of embarrassing him before getting to the point. Besides, he gets an awful nervous tick when the one who scratches crawls up to his window to scratch a hole in his stomach. What prayer would you find appropriate for this occasion? He's not really going to hit this thing with a bat, is he? My baby boy wouldn't hurt to fly. He has no guts for it. The first thing he did when the daze had worn off was grabbing the bat. Then he pressed himself against the wall by the window. And that was all he could do, for the nails were already scratching very close to the sill.
Creak, creak, creak.
It's coming for you, you little whiny boy with no guts. I'm going to scratch a hole in your belly to see if I can find them. He didn't want to see what was under the sill. He would prefer to die than to look at it. The nails struck the sill. He knew there were now black marks on it and some metal shavings got under the nails. You can poke a gift now if you want to.
Oh!
Maybe some of those nails got broken, but the one who scratches doesn't care. It's got oh so many of them. Oh, and tangled also if you want. He stared straight ahead. His teeth were clenched and saliva bubbled at the corners of his parted mouth. He was leaping without a sound, choking on a silent scream. Yes, I got a Pokeball, thank you. He wasn't really going to hit the thing with a bat, was he? Something began to climb over the sill. He tried not to look at it, yet he could still see it.
Oh no.
Something akin to squishy fingers or guts with lots of nails that grew on top of each other like clamshells. In the moonlight, he saw tufts of fur glistening on those finger guts, just like a rat's tail. Then he realized two things. Firstly, he got an insight of Timo's gifts. The thing is, his old cat constantly brought him something, the prey, those morbid little signs of unconditional love as he thought back then. But now he figured it out. Things he had been secretly throwing out the window in the middle of the night weren't dead mice. They were small fragments, tiny pieces of the hideous fingers of the one who scratches. Look, master, this nightmare is vulnerable. I drove it away. I brought you a piece of its flesh, which means you can sleep safely tonight. That's what the cat thought when its owner ruffled Timo's knobby, scabbed head.
Aww.
So all the dead things he's bringing back? And secondly, he realized with all the clarity this was the thing that lures cats into the darkness of summer nights from which they never return. The thing that took Timo away. And now it has come for Selene. He stopped weeping, but was still breathing fast, too fast, drawing air through bared teeth. Inside, he was boiling with rage. He wasn't going to hit this thing with a bat, was he? He was. Damn right he was. He turned to it slowly and stared, eyes wide open without blinking, at the glistening flesh clambered over the sill. He was waiting. He felt sick, but decided that he will throw up later. Right after he turns that thing into a bloody mess. I know you. You won't get her. You won't get anyone. The sound that came from his throat didn't resemble words, but that was exactly what he said. He charged at the thing, and thrashed and thrashed and thrashed it. He smashed its fingers, guts, tails, or whatever the shit that was, and the bat seemed lighter than a feather. He had never been particularly strong, but now all of his being became pure will, with the bat as the point of application. Bloody shreds kept bursting out and sprinkling around as he smashed and smashed and smashed. He paid no heed to the nails that were trying to get him, tearing his clothes, tearing his skin. He didn't care. He didn't even feel anything. Anything but the desire to wipe this thing off the face of the earth, just smash it out of reality if he had to. Finally, the corpse crumbled and distorted, slid off the window frame, collapsing down. It was over. The blood-soaked bat slipped out of his hand and rolled across the floor, leaving a long, black-red smear. He wouldn't have been able to lift it. He was barely standing on his feet, and drool mixed with blood ran down his face. He didn't want to look down because he could feel the wet heat spreading out around his stomach. He knew what was going on. He stumbled to the bed and fell back. A hoarse, gurgling breath came out of his mouth. More than anything, he wanted the cat to come.
Yes, happy dreamland. Everybody loves tomato soup. Tomato soup is Devil's favorite food. It reminds me of home. Elijah doesn't like tomato soup. Everybody loves tomato soup. No means no.
Oh God.
Sorry. Oh no.
Soup? One of his eyes was badly damaged by the fall, but Mr. Bench was not worried about that. He died a few hours ago. Before that happened, he threw up with something whitish, and the vomit was still foaming on his cheek, resembling cheap strawberry yogurt because of some blood mixed in it. The police was informed about it. The corpse, not the fact that Mr. Bench couldn't hold his dinner and got his pants a little dirty, by Miss Cora, a neat old lady who lived nearby and for the last decade never woke up later than 5 in the morning. But the first one to notice the body was the cat. She looked like a purebred British Shorthair in all respects except for the color. Aside from the smoky gray head, it seemed as if she was dropped into a vat of white paint, while her lower part was dipped into a black one. As she passed by Mr. Bench, she smelled the air from a few meters away, more cautious than interested. Under different circumstances, you might have actually been interested in him, but the cat already had someone special. She soared upwards, stabbing her milky white claws into the bark of a tall tree. The fur above the muscles on her back stood on end. In a few leaps, she reached a ledge and disappeared into the dark gape of the open window of the second floor. So, are we back to banging the cat?
I think so.
Okay. He could barely breathe at the time, but when the cat came back, he felt better. Much better.
何したの
What have you done?
I was defending... I wanted to save you. I wanted to save us both.
You fool.
That's right. I just can't lose you.
もう遅いよ
It's too late.
He wanted to object, say something trivial like, It's never late as long as they're both alive, but he could not. The cat clung to him with her entire body, sticking her lips to his. He suddenly realized she wasn't, in fact, skinny, more of wiry and quite strong. The next moment, he felt his flesh tearing apart, and it tore easily, as quite some time had already passed. And with that, everything finally fell into its place. She ate us? He had read about this in some magazine.
I think so. Oh!
Feral cats,
Did you blow the boobies?
feral cats and many house ones, if their owners pass away, aren't above eating human flesh if they manage to reach it. But cats are very discerning, careful eaters. Having chosen a corpse, the cat remains faithful to it until it's stripped to its bone.
Yeah.
Taking this into account, and also the number of empty sleeping pill cans everywhere. Good God, there are too many of them. There was but a single conclusion to make. He died quite some time ago. It turns out that the pills failed him once again. The ceiling was swinging back and forth, swaying like a caring mother swings at cradle. And that's when he finally noticed it was the kitchen ceiling, and he was not laying in bed but on the floor. Some vague sounds were coming from outside the room, which grew more and more persistent over time. If he knew about Miss Cora's peculiar discovery, he would have probably guessed that the police were already breaking down his door. The cat hurriedly stuffed her mouth, choking, swallowing pieces without even chewing them. He didn't mind. After all, a cat that has no home should eat well, shouldn't she? Although he got rid of the one who scratches, the street is still full of dogs and evil people. Even his mother would agree, and his mother never ever agreed with him. And yet, he still had one question to ask. Say, did you love me? Even a little? For a moment, the cat took a pause with her task and looked him in the eyes. Her body was shivering. A yellowish flap of flesh that occurred to be a piece of rotting fat was trembling in her long, sharp teeth.
I do.
He breathes in her scent for the last time, the smell of fur, dust, and something sweet. The smell of carrion. It's himself, dead body.
Yeah.
The death of the author. Alright, that's all of them, right?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, 3 was fast. 4 was the first one. 6 was the worst one. 5 was... interesting. Alright, well, let's see what changed.
December 15th. J stands for jerk. Brought a stuffed cat to school and left it on my desk. Aww! He thinks it's funny. They all think it's funny. I hate everyone. It's a stupid task and I can't see how it helps. Guess I'll just try typing something. Ass cheeks. Ah, I'm dumb. They are. Monsters are back to you. Today's monsters are back to you. Guys, scratch until they get core. I hate their tiny fingers and how they smell of chewing gum and bruises. They love to rip my heart away. To see if it has insect legs they could pluck out. But I hide it well. In the thickets of letters. And I build ladders. To get where they would never find me. And so, in the back of my head, I am free.
We did it. That's it.
We did!
Huh. Well, that was interesting.
That was super interesting.
What do you think?
Personally, I actually really liked it. I mean, in comparison to a few of the other stories we read, because we've done Song of Sire and what else? What other stories have we
Yeah,
read?
we can't do Song of Saya on this.
Oh, we cannot.
No.
But we can talk about it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, in comparison to that and character Shoju, like, okay, it's definitely like not quite up to there, but in saying so, I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 3-hour. It's a 3-hour one. I don't know if because our choices were strange, like it made a better picture once we chose them all, because the first ending was absolutely terrible.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Like it just ended, and there was not really much of a horror aspect to it. Like occasionally flashing pictures of craziness isn't very horror-ish to me. And I mean, we banged a cat, so it was tough to really take it that seriously.
Yeah.
But like that last ending was much better, where we got eaten by the cat, and we never made out of the room, and yeah, it was very interesting. Much better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I'm probably gonna read it. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, all in all, I'm happy as well.